So a couple of months ago, I posted something regarding how to preserve your fitness, how to use less of your fitness and be more efficient on the bike. And specifically, I was talking about handlebar roll and handlebar selection. And so I won't go into that because you can look back at that post about it. But on this post, I wanted to kind of discuss a bit more about levers and, you know, positions that I would say I would use on my mountain bike, specifically my e-bike here, my Tense Taser, and on my motocross bike. You'd notice it's hard to see with the hand guards, but my levers are a little bit higher on my motocross bike, and the reason being is that, you know, you're moving around a little bit more, getting back. Of course, most likely going to use your front brake when you're getting back on the bike because you're braking into a corner. So again, you're lower, you're back further, and you don't want to be reaching for your lever. But even on a mountain bike, you know, my wheel's up a little bit in the air, so it probably looks like they're a little lower than they are, but and I think I move between this and even a little bit higher sometimes. I've been actually playing with it a little bit on my e-bike because I'm climbing a bit more and riding more techie. I would say on my pedal bike, I'm probably up a couple millimeters. But the big one is, I notice so many, maybe some of the older jets, you got their levers all the way down, and you hear this thing about, you know, levers down, elbows up, and that's the way you want to ride. I would disagree. First of all, the position of your hand shouldn't relate to the position of your elbow. Your wrist, and I'm speaking as not a bike coach, but I'll speak as a kinesiology guy and exercise physiology and understanding some human kinetics. You kind of want your wrist in this position. In this position, you're kind of neutral, believe it or not, with your wrist. So if you look at that, effectively, you know, your wrist is not down in this position. You know, there's a few things here to do. You could grab a, to test this for your grip strength, and this can affect your forearm fatigue. Some people call it forearm pump, their hand fitness. If you grab like an exercise ball and you squeeze it, just try this. Maybe you get an exercise ball, or you can get like a racket ball or something, and bend your wrist down and squeeze it. And you'll notice your forearms pump up pretty quickly and you don't have a lot of performance. As soon as you get your wrist to about there, it's a little bit better. A little higher, it's even better yet. And without discussing too much physiology, there's a reason for that. You're opening up your forearms a bit differently. And that's the first reason. So you got way better grip strength and performance. Next thing, you also you put your wrist in a better position. If you have your wrist in that position, it actually has a tendency to jam up your wrist a little bit. Example, if you were jumping off something with a straight leg, it's pretty hard on your knees. Where you have a flexed knee, you know, you can feel the cushion a little bit. Your wrist having a little bit of flex allows for that little bit of give, which relaxes your shoulders, relaxes your grip, and relaxes you, which means you can be you know, less rigid on the bike. So one, you have better gripping strength. Two, you have a better wrist position. And three, this goes back to my previous post about handlebar. It allows you also to get into this hand position like this versus this, I call it death grip. You kind of want your hand like a tennis racket. So that helps a little bit too. So the other thing would be also to move your levers inboard a little bit so that when you are doing this, you're not grabbing the lever there, right? I hold my grip on the end, so I'm kind of grabbing in the sweet spot. So levers up a little bit, give it a shot, put them up, see what happens to your wrists. Don't worry about your elbows. The way to direct your elbows in the right position is just ride and feel where that feels like you're in your best control. Too high and you're shrugging and you have less movement on the bike. I've learned that from, you know, better bike coaches than myself. And of course, like on my moto, you know, for those who are motocrossers listening to these posts as well, yeah, it's the same thing. Like mine are almost level, slightly just below level. Again, you know, you're not grabbing with your fingertips that way. You grab the sweet spot. For me, it's also moving the levers inbound a little bit more. I also bring my levers, especially like a brake lever, a little closer. So you got to maintain your brake, bleed it. Same with your mountain bike. Keep the brakes maintained well and not have a lot of sponge, they call it, in the brakes, or squish, and having that so you can have the brake lever a little bit closer, and that way you're not reaching way out there for it. And to me, the front brake is probably, well, for going fast on the track, the front brake for me is way more important than twisting this. Anybody can just twist the throttle and go fast, but it's how you can slow down. So same thing on the bike. If I don't have good control on the bike, my brain's not telling me to go as fast. So braking to me is everything, and getting these levers in the right position. But think about that wrist position. Think about that, you know, not relative to your elbows, thinking it relative to your grip strength and relative to your braking control, and then let your arms move where they like to. And you see some very successful riders who, you know, have a tendency to drop their elbows a little bit more, and you see some that are a little more up and down. But I would say it's pretty, it's not, you don't see a lot of riders with their levers now that are successful. You can look around and you're not going to see many professional, or even, like I say, successful racers with, or competitors with motocross or mountain bike with their levers pointed down. So just some food for thought, and try it out, see what you think.